in order to get ahead, we have to change. You have to make changes. Now, people actually love change. You might not agree with that. We actually love change. You love when you change cars, or you get a new home, or you get a new outfit or something like that. We actually love change. We don't like to be changed, and you definitely want to change so you can live the way that you want. And so I think people say, I don't really know what I want. I said, well, I think you do know what you want. You definitely know what you don't want. And basically, the opposite of what you don't want is what you do want. But I do think a lot of people have sat around and thought of things that they want, changes they want to make in their life, or things in their life they want to change, whether they can change them or are in control of that change. But fundamentally, we do like change, and we do want to make some changes. We do know what we want. We often stop entertaining what we want because some things get in the way, which I want to talk to you about today. And so, what is the real problem? Why is it you fear change? Well, you know what you want, you know what you don't want, but you're actually afraid to make the change. It's not a question of whether you like change. It's not a question of whether you want change. It's just really a question that you're afraid to make the changes. And when you're not making these changes that you want to make, then you get frustrated with yourself. You turn on yourself. You criticize yourself. You give yourself a hard time. You punish yourself. You hurt yourself in maybe some negative behaviors. Things that temporarily numb you or make you feel good that actually make you feel lousy in the long run. And so when you get frustrated, you get stuck, you procrastinate, you get fed up with yourself, frustration kicks in. And frustration is one of the biggest problems that you have. And when you're frustrated, it's actually difficult to kind of break through, break out, and continue to move and pursue. So let's take a look at frustration first. All right. So all frustration simply means, and whenever you're frustrated, all you got to remember is this. You might want to write this down. When you're frustrated, it simply means your expectations are not being met. That's what frustration is. Okay. And so you have expectations of you. You know that you're made for more. You know that you're capable of doing more. You know that there is more for you out of life. You know that's waiting there for you. But you ran into some challenges, you ran into some problems, you made some mistakes. You've had some failures, you've had some losses, you've taken confidence hits, but you're not going to be able to eliminate this desire for the pursuit. That's built into you, and there's a knowing in you, this spirit in you that's always compelling you, trying to convince you to go forward in spite of your fears, and so that's pushing at you. There's desires pulling at you, trying to draw you forward in life. There's your spirit in you trying to push you towards what's actually drawing you, your attention, what it is you want, right? What you want for your life, what you want to do in life. So those are going on, and you can't really turn them off. In fact, the more you ignore them, probably the more frustrated you're going to get with yourself, because you're not acting naturally. It's in your nature. It's natural to have this pull, this desire towards some meaning, some purpose, some accomplishment, something aspirational in your life. And there's a spirit in you always constantly welling up, pushing on you. Sometimes it's like you just feel like, digging your feet in cartoons where the character is being pushed and they dig their feet into the dirt. That's kind of what you might be experiencing. So you have all this resistance. You have a pull, and you're resisting the pull. You have a push, and you're resisting the push. And it's because of your evaluation of you, your current situation, and what it is that you're being pulled towards, right? And so we got to get all this stuff really, really straight, because it's the resistance that you're feeling, the feeling you're feeling, that's really causing you the problem. So if frustration simply means that your expectations aren't being met, then let's take a look at what you're expecting. Morning, Donna. Morning, Michael. Thanks for coming on. Rafael is here. Good morning. Good afternoon. Hello. Welcome, and jot any comments or questions down as we're going here. Okay. So you might be trying to live up to the expectations of others, which requires you to change, right? So we like change. We don't like to be change or have expectations put on us to make changes. We have no problem with change. We just don't want to be changed by others. And it's actually kind of frustrating when you're trying to pretend to be someone you're not, just to get approval. Or I always hear people go, "Am I a people pleaser?" In fact, one of my clients messaged me, go, "What is your definition of a people pleaser?" And so maybe you're trying to live up to the expectations of others. Well, that would be very frustrating because you'll never meet their expectations. Never, never, ever, ever, because they're not you and you're not them. And their perception of what they expect of you, you'll probably never really measure up to that. And they might even actually turn on you because you're not meeting their expectations. So that would cause some frustration. Then the other thing, are you expecting others to change so your life can change? Another source of frustration is you're actually expecting other people to change, or situations to change, or your boss to change, or your coworker to change, or your kids to change, or your spouse to change. You're expecting other people to change so your life can change. Well, that's a losing game too, and that's going to be frustrating because people won't live up to your expectations either. So you can't live up to others' expectations, and they can't live up to your expectations, nor should they. Nobody should be expected to live up to your expectations. That's just plain wrong. And it's not good for you, and it's not good for them. All it's going to do is cause frustration and conflict and disappointment and all these negative emotions. And that's going to get you stuck. Maybe you're seduced by the self-help world, chanting. You can be anything and you can do anything, but you're not. You're not doing the things that the self-help world promises you can do. Well, number one, you can't be anything and you can't do anything. Okay, that's not necessarily true. You can definitely do a lot of things that you don't think you're capable of. You're capable of. You have no idea how capable you are. Couple of things you got to get straight is that if you have this pull towards something, if you have this push inside, nudging you along, rising up in you, whatever that is, whatever you want, you got to get this straight. You are that sort of person. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that pull and you would not have that push. So we really got to get that straight. Okay. Now, if you're trying to live up to others' expectations, you're pursuing things and trying to be something and do something to meet other people's expectations. As I said, you're going to have a real problem. And so we got to get it straight. If I have this desire, I have a really strong desire. I'm on a mission to help 1 million people get rid of their mistaken identity. There's millions of people like me that went through what I went through as a kid and really suffered, really struggled in my life. And I was able to break free, not just survive, but thrive, become very successful, write a book about it. I mean, and all these things. And I don't have any negative emotions. I don't have any trauma. I don't have any pain. I don't have any negative emotions. Like I'm free. And so I'm on a mission to break free 1 million people. All right. That's what's pulling me. That's my aspiration. And spirited me is telling me, nudging me, giving me ideas on what I should do and what I could do. And of course, I resist too naturally. I'm growing just like you are. Okay. So you might be being seduced by this promise that you can be anything, do anything, but you're not actually pursuing anything. And you might start to comparing yourself to this very common thing. You on social media, you start taking a look at all these people that are so-called successful, and they put all this stuff out, and then you give yourself a hard time because it's like, I mean, you should be able to do that, right? And if you are comparing yourself to others, the good news is comparing is not a good thing. It doesn't feel very good. But the good news about it is that if you are comparing, it's because deep down you do know that you are capable of more. You know that you can pursue more and achieve more in your life. But what's really frustrating is that when you buy into a promise that you can do anything, have anything, multiply your income, start all these things that are promised in the self-help world, and then you don't, um, because either the people that offer you that, they don't live up to your expectations, and they don't deliver the promise that was made to you. But also, it's very common, of course, is that you don't live up to the expectations to fulfill the promise that was made to you. So these are sources of frustration. Again, it's always coming down to your expectations not being met. You're trying to live up to expectations of others. You're expecting others to change your life, or maybe you've been kind of bought into this promise that life can be so much better than it is. And then maybe you've tried that. I know a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. All I do is talk to people all week long, all day long, like this, or one-on-one in Q&As and different things like that in my groups. And there's so many people spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're no further ahead, and they're deeper in debt, and not much has actually changed. In fact, a lot of people go, things are actually worse. And I think that's just plain wrong. I think a lot of people buy programs that they don't need. They don't know what they need, or they think they need this. If I get this information, I'll be more confident. If I learn this, I will overcome my fear and I'll make change. And that's not actually true either. So let's talk about why you're afraid to change then. Okay. Sylvia's here. Hello, Sylvia Dervla. Hello, my friend. Good to have you on here. Again, if you're just arriving here, thanks for coming on. By the way, if you're new here in the Made for More community, we always have people joining every week. And as a member here, if you're liking this and you want to invite people in, you can use the share button and you can invite anybody you want into this group. So do that if you like. And if you're here for the first time, welcome, and let me know. And comment on the video here, whether you're watching the replay or not. Let's hear from you. Let's hear your questions and your comments. I'd appreciate that. Okay. So why are you afraid to change? Well, generally there's a bunch of reasons, but I'm going to give you several key points here. Mainly you're afraid to change because you're afraid to fail. Okay. And so back to those Think and Grow Rich, the last chapter of that book, How to Outwit the Ghosts of Fear. And the author, Napoleon Hill, broke fear into 6 categories: fear of criticism, fear of poverty or loss of money, fear of loss of love, what loved ones will do, losing them, losing their love, losing their attention, losing their validation, losing them because they leave, whatever, you get in a conflict. And then fear of ill health, fear of old age, and fear of death. So the primary, one of the most dominant fears is the very first one that he mentioned. Actually, fear of criticism is actually a stronger, more dominant fear than fear of loss of money, okay, or where you can't pay your bills. Now, you might not agree with that if you can't pay your bills right now, but I'm telling you, one of the reasons you can't pay your bills is because you have a very strong fear of failure and fear of criticism that's not having you go out and do the very thing you can to do to solve the problem that you have, which is not enough money. So generally, the reason you're afraid to change is you're afraid to fail because you're worried about the implications of that failure, the financial implications, the family implications, your health. A lot of people perceive that they have to try harder and work harder to earn more money. And if somebody's already working, 50, 60 hours a week, and they want to increase their income by 50%, they think they have to work an extra 50% more when they already don't have enough time and they're already stressed out and they're burned out. So for them to fathom the idea that they can increase their income, that just will not register with you. And that's a whole other conversation we can have why that's happening. But generally, you're afraid to fail. That's why you're afraid of change, because you're worried about the implications of that failure. Okay. But number one is this notion of fear of criticism. So you are afraid of what others will think, what they'll say, or what they'll do in reaction to what it is that you do. So I know you've experienced this, some of you, or a lot of you to some degree. You start making moves and you get resistance from family and friends. Okay. And then, of course, they start questioning you and throwing doubts at you. And then you start questioning yourself and getting doubtful. Just to digress, one of the things you got to learn to do is you have to learn to tune out any negative suggestions from friends, family, and acquaintances when you're going after what it is that you want to go after. Okay. Another reason why you're afraid to change is oftentimes you just don't know how. You don't know how to make the changes you want, and you're afraid to ask for help or admit what's really going on inside of you. And that's the biggest thing I came to conclusion. I've been mentoring and coaching people for 30 plus years in different businesses and different industries. I got into the personal development space, the self-help space in the early 90s, and I got into the personal development space, taking programs to better myself and get better results. And I worked in it for almost 10 years, 9.5 years, 8 years with the great Bob Proctor while he was alive from 2014 to 2022. I was working with him, and again, talking to thousands and thousands of people. And what it always came down to, always, if you'd admit it, if you'd actually come to me and give me a chance to help you and speak with you, and I'm always imploring you to, let's have a chat, book a call, come on here, let's have a conversation, because I know what's actually getting in your way. And it's not the external that the problem is, it's the internal. And when people tell me what's really going on inside and they reveal that to me, well, then I can help you. Because the negative stuff that's going on inside you, that comes from your mistaken identity and low confidence and a poor self-image that's causing these internal perceptions and conceptions of yourself. But that's really what's going on. And so you don't know how to make the changes you want to make. So you just literally, I'm talking to a lady last week. She's been an employee in an industry for a number of years. She's very good at what she does. She's very well respected, and she wants to convert her experience and her connections and her passion into her own business. And she's gone through a bunch of coaching programs, stuff like that. And yeah, she's more confident and feeling a bit more secure, but she hasn't made the move yet. I met this person almost a year ago, and they still have not made the move yet, although they're going to. They're getting there. And in spite of all the programs they've taken, they still have not made the move because when it came down to, I just don't know how to do it. And they never really got any advice from the people that they were buying coaching programs from on how to do it. I said, you've been doing the wrong thing. You just need to know how to do it. I know if I tell you how to do it, I know you'll go do it, because she's an action taker. She just needs to know how to do it, and she doesn't. And so I work with a lot of people on what I call minding your business. And so one of the things I love to do is, of course, mentor and coach and instruct solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, commissioned salespeople, leaders, managers of people to be more productive, be more effective, and get where you want to go in terms of results. And so I'm going to help her on the how. But a big thing is two other issues. You're a bit of a lone wolf. You're afraid to ask for help, okay? Or admit what's actually really going on inside of you that's causing these fears, okay? So let's talk about what causes the fear. If you want to break free of the fear of making the changes, okay, there's a few key things you understand. But before we cover that, let me talk to you how you are actually causing your fear or allowing your fear to manifest in you. Hey, Vicky, how are you? Good to see you. Who else has just joined us? Pardon me. I wish I knew how to say some of your names. Rezarg, Rezarjan Daji, Rezarjan. I got that wrong, I'm sure. Question. Hi, Doug. How are you? Can you collaborate on the question I have? You say your book, don't let your emotions control your thinking. What does it really mean? Let me come back to that. Tice, I know you're watching in the background here. Don't let me forget about that question. I don't know if you can actually pin that or somehow, but I will come back to that question for sure. I'm going to cover a little bit of it, but I'll answer your question specifically. Okay. All right. So if you want to break free of making the changes, break free of the fear of making the changes that you want to make, there's three key things you understand. First, though, what is the cause of your failure? So I loved Napoleon Hill's way of writing, Think and Grow Rich, The Laws of Success, which was the original book that transpired into Think and Grow Rich. Outwitting the Devil. He's got a number. I just love how direct he was and how rational and logical he was about some very kind of vague concepts, And he explained fear beautifully. When he explained, I go, that makes total sense. That's it. And I 100% agree with him. I've not found anybody better explain the cause of my fear than Napoleon Hill. And he said, basically what happens is it's indecision that causes fear. He said, what happens is you get an idea of something you want to do, all right? So you want to make a change. You want to change this in your life, or you want to change this about you so your life can get better. You want to make a change. And so it's not a question, like I said when we started, it's not a question of you knowing what it is you want, or it's not a question whether that you don't know what you want, or you know what you want and you know what you don't want. So you're pretty clear on the changes that you want to make in your life, and you sit around and you think about those changes. I mean, sometimes they just hit you like a brick wall. It's like right in your face. Or other people, because they have expectations of you to change, they throw those things in your face. Or you might just be humming along for the past few days, everything's going great, and boom, some obstacle comes up and hits you in the face. And so we think about what we want, but we don't actually decide to do it. Okay. And again, the reason you don't decide to make the changes is the three reasons I mentioned earlier. You're afraid to fail. You're worried about the implications of your failure, money, family, health. You're afraid of what other people are going to think, say, or do in reaction to what it is you do, that fear of criticism, and you don't know how to do something. So you get the idea to make the change, like this lady. She wants to convert her career into her business, and she doesn't know how, and she's become very indecisive. And so when you're indecisive, now here's the other bugger. When you don't make decisions quickly, okay, you're indecisive, it turns into procrastination. And then I hear people all the time, I'm such a procrastinator. I'm so indecisive. I have no focus. I just can't. And they beat themselves up when they don't even realize the cause of their indecision, okay, which I'll cover in a second. So if you sit around and you think about the changes you want to make, and all you do is think about them, you don't decide to do anything about it. Now, the cool thing is you don't have to know how to do it yet. You just have to decide you're going to do it. That's the first step. Decision's everything. Decision is the door. Okay. Once you make a decision, the door, you don't have to push the door open. It's almost like like on the button for doors for disabled entrance. You hit a button and the door swings open. That's what decision is. Okay. Decision is like hitting that button, and without doing any effort, the door just opens. And then all you got to do is walk through, and then things begin to happen, and the how begins to appear. Okay. And so you're indecisive because you're afraid of the implications of that. You don't know how to do it. And so then what happens, because you're indecisive, then you make a few big mistakes, fatal mistakes to your success. You go, let me think about it. So I hear it all the time with people. They come to me, I'm making sense. Everything I'm saying to them makes sense. They know I can help them. And they go, let me think about it. Somebody will even say for $695 to go through my reset with my book that will cause a major change. They go, let me think about it. And I go, uh-oh. I said, I'm not going to hear from them again because they're indecisive. They can't even make a decision about that. And they're indecisive. And then what happens is it creates doubt. Okay, so indecision creates doubt. All right, questions. And you go, let me think about it. You go ask somebody else for an opinion. You go online and you do some research. You try to gather more information to satisfy the fear of change, the fear you're creating with the indecision. So it's indecision creates doubt, and the two blend together and become fear. So the cause of fear is your indecisiveness, which creates the doubt, which keeps you stuck. All right. So what's the source of indecision then? Let's look at that. Indecision simply comes down to lack of confidence. All right. Lack of confidence in what to do and how to do it because you don't have the experience. Okay. Or you just lack confidence in yourself because you've got low self-esteem, low self-confidence, a mistaken identity, a poor self-image, a poor opinion of yourself. You have all these perceptions of yourself that generally aren't even true, but you think they're true because you're looking at your situation as your reference point as to whether they're true. And that's what you look at. So you look at you look at your situation, your bank account, your body, whatever it is, you look at all that, and then you look at what you want to do and change, you don't know how, then of course you're going to procrastinate, right? So how do you shore those two things up? If lack of confidence and lack of knowing how causes indecision, and indecision turns into doubt, and it blends together to become fear, and you get stuck, well, then how do you deal with the issue of the creation of the indecision, which is the lack of knowing how and lack of confidence? Well, the how can be shored up easily. You can find people that know how to do it. Like this lady, she wants to start a business. I know how to do that. I'm very good at getting people off the ground quickly. And for those people that are off the ground, have a business, I'm very good at getting you to the next level and the next level. And I only take you up one level at a time. It could be a really big step or a medium step. And so you can find people that know what they're doing. Okay. And you always want to follow people that are getting the results that you want to get. Okay. I don't mean follow them by taking a course necessarily. Okay. But you want to follow somebody. If you got a plumbing problem, you call a plumber. Okay. I don't know anything about plumbing. I call a plumber. So you can find people that know how to do what it is that you want. But you also get stuck in that. You get stuck in just researching the how, gathering more information, how, and generally because you're afraid to ask for help and you're afraid to admit the first problem. So second problem is you don't have the confidence to do it. You don't know how to do it. But the first problem is your opinion of yourself, how you feel about yourself. Okay. If you don't sort this out, you won't get this part right. Okay. You can't really gain a whole lot of confidence in yourself or your God-given talents and abilities to aspire to the thing that's pulling on you and go after the thing that's pushing at you. If you don't like yourself, know yourself, feel good about yourself, if you criticize yourself, judge yourself, punish yourself, treat yourself poorly, you're going to have a hard time becoming confident to go after what you want. And so what you're doing is you actually try to gather information on how to get what you want, but you don't take care of the first part, right? And so then you spend all this money, and all these courses and books and programs, and you still don't make a move. Well, because you didn't take care of the first part. You didn't take care of getting clear on who you really are and what you're really capable of, and about all the mistaken bullshit that you think about yourself and believe about yourself that was handed to you by other people or from experiences that you had with other people. You got to get that straight. Okay. So it's the lack of confidence in you and how you feel about yourself and knowing what to do that causes the indecision. And then the indecision creates doubt and it blends together to become fear. Okay. So if you want to break free of making changes, here are three key things that you've got to understand. All right. In order to change, you must pursue. Okay. You must pursue. And you pursue by taking imperfect action. I'd rather see you just move and fall down and fail, scrape your knees and get back up and try again. That's how babies learn to walk, how kids learn to ride a bicycle or surf for the first time or water ski for the first time or drive a car for the first time. You learn just by doing, right? And the reason we want to be pursuing something is because we're not going to get into this today, but last week and the week before we talked about this, how your mind works. Your mind is this goal-seeking machine, right? It's looking for a target. It's like a built-in GPS. Where am I going? What's the address I'm heading towards? So in the absence of having something you're pursuing, some target, some goal, something you want to create or change in your life, your mind's just kind of, it's looking around going, where are we going? And so if you're feeling lost and confused, you probably don't know where the hell you're going. Okay. So we must decide on where we're going, the change we want to make to better ourselves and better life. We got to pick that. And all you got to do is just decide you're going to do it. I don't even care if you act today. I just want you to make the decision today. I've had clients where they make that decision every day over and over and over. I said, don't do anything, no action. Your only action is to decide every day you're going to do it. Some people actually make them write me an email or a message where they write out with a very firm statement, this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes you got to start just with that. This is what I'm going to do. I ask people all the time what they want. They tell me what they want. I go, why don't you do that? And they go, well, I said, why don't you just do it? They go, well, I said, no, you're misunderstanding me. I said, I didn't say you had to take any action. I said, just why don't you just decide you're going to do it? You know, another client of mine wants to have this business they're building and wants this really cool location. And they were thinking about getting the location next year. So why don't you go for the location by Christmas? Oh, I can't do that. I said, I didn't say you had to do it. I said, why don't you just decide that you're going to go after that, right? And all of a sudden they flip the switch and now they're pursuing, part of their goal is they are going to have a celebration party that they found the location by Christmas. They might not move in by Christmas. They're definitely going to, so it's all decision. Okay. And so we've got to pursue something, right? And the pursuit doesn't happen until you make a decision you're going to pursue. Just like the built-in GPS, you type in an address and you'll get maybe 2 or 3 options, right? The fastest route, the longest route, the shortest route, whatever. There's a green button there that says go, right? Well, that means you say, I'm going. And so you hit go, and then the GPS starts and it gives you the directions, the list of the directions, turn by turn. It gives you a map, a plan right in front of you. But nothing happens until you start driving, until you start moving, until you start taking action, until you start pursuing the destination. Then the GPS starts to call out directions turn by turn. And that's how your mind works. Okay. And again, we also have this built-in part of us, this thing that's innate in you, that's natural. There's this pull towards something greater. Now you don't have to do what I'm doing, trying to change a million lives. You might want to just change your life. I mean, whatever you're aspiring, doesn't have to be big, whatever you think big is. It's all relative based on how you see the world. But naturally, you have these aspirations. You're being pulled, you're being called. You're here for a reason, okay? You're here for a reason. And your job is to figure out what that reason is, but not sitting around trying to figure out the reason, then go. You just kind of pursue your desires, what you want, right? And again, you got the pull, pulling you ahead. You got the push, trying to push you forward, spirit bubbling up inside you. Okay, that's all going on. That's the other reason you must pursue. All right, you're being pulled, you're being pushed, and your goal, your mind is goal seeking. We got to give it something to pursue. Okay. Now, the biggest problem that you have that I've discovered in 30 plus years, and I finally discovered what my problem was. In spite of I'm working very closely with one of the greatest people in the world in mindset and personal development and human growth potential, Bob Proctor, and I still didn't figure it out even with him, and I finally did figure it out. And number one, again, you got to pursue change by taking action. Number two, you have to let go of your past because it's holding you back. All right. Whatever happened to you in the past, however you were treated in the past, the mistakes that you made in the past, all those things in the past have created negative emotions, negative opinions, a lot of fears, a lot of doubts, a lot of worries, and it really contributes to this fear of change, right? So you got to let go of your past. Well, how do you do that? It's really simple. Okay. If you pursue your future, all right, and you let go of the past, what you're doing is you're distancing yourself. Okay. Each day, if you pursue and you let go of the past, I'm always talking about don't talk about the past, don't think about the past, right? Don't let anybody else bring up the past because generally it's always negative, right? You just leave it behind. Just leave it behind. Leave it where it is in the past and just pursue. And each day you get further and further and further ahead from the past, right? And so that's the beautiful thing. Now, people go, it's hard to let go of the past. Well, it is hard because you're doing it wrong. It's actually very simple to let go of the past, but you think it's hard. People go, easier said than done. It's actually easier done than said, right? It's very easy to let go of the past. And that's what I figured out. And I put it together in my book, Mistaken Identity. And I put it together in a course called Reset, to reset your identity, reset your self-image, reset your self-confidence. That's what you got to do. And so this past, it has a grip on you and it's roping you in to staying stuck. And that's frustrating. So you might have goals. You might have things you'd like to pursue and you are pursuing it, but it's like this big, thick rope around your waist and you're dragging. It's like in those there are these games that bodybuilders and weightlifters compete in, and they put ropes on them and they got to tow this big cart full of weight. That's what it's like, right? You're pursuing. Oh my God, it's like hard and painful, and you're sore and tired. You got no energy, right? You just don't seem to be making any progress because you got this past has a grip on you and it ropes you into staying stuck. It actually talks you into staying stuck because it's so hard to go ahead. And so who wouldn't quit, right? It shouldn't be so hard to get ahead. It's not really all that hard. You're just doing it wrong. And so what I discovered is that I had my own mistaken identity that I hadn't really cleared up. I cleared up a lot of stuff in the past, but I didn't really clear up how I saw myself and how I felt about myself because of what I went through in my past. And I went through some pretty difficult things in my past, a very, what they call adverse childhood experience, very, very difficult past. In fact, 60% of you hear me talk about this all the time, the 60% dilemma. 60% of you have been through something like what I've been through to some degree or another. And that caused you to do things, these negative habits and negative behaviors, which cause mistakes, which made you feel lousy about yourself because of the way you're behaving. Other people made you feel lousy about yourself because of the way you're behaving. And the reason you're behaving that way is because what you went through as a kid. And you go through that as a kid, you do these things that are negative and harming you and other people. And so then you have a lousy opinion of yourself because of it. And now wherever you are right now in your life, your financial situation, your health situation, all that, you wouldn't be in the situation you're in if you had cleared up your past or if you didn't go through what you went through in your past. And so that's really what it takes. You got to pursue and you got to let go of the past. And how do you let go of the past? You get rid of this mistaken identity. Because the truth is, the way your mind works to pursue the goal, to achieve the goal, your opinion of yourself, your self-image, that's what's actually directing your thinking. Your mind is directed by self-image. Your mind and your self-image direct your brain and nervous system to make decisions and take actions or not take action, right? And so this self-image, we got to get this clear. Now the self-help world goes, hey, you can be anything and 10x your income, and all you got to do is act as if and write up a self-image script, and you're going to achieve your. It's not true. Okay, you can't just make up a self-image to become a billionaire. I had some guy write me back on my email this morning. He said, I don't know if he was saying it in jest or joking or he was serious, but he goes, I want to earn $1 million. All I could see in the email preview was I want to earn $1 million or before I'm dead. And then the email said, I want to earn $1 million by the time I'm 27 or I want to be dead. I'm going, oh my God, I hope this guy's not serious. But you have these you have all these things that come up and you're convinced that if I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 27, all I got to do is just make up some self-image. Well, it doesn't work that way. Okay. It was proven. I found it. I discovered it in my study, in my books rather, that I studied. I put it together in my book. I brought it from here, Psycho-Cybernetics. He said, this guy Maltz was a breakthrough in psychology in the 1960s around self-image and changed the psychology world at that time. Although the psychology world didn't go in that direction, unfortunately. He said, you can't just make up a self-image arbitrarily. You can't say, I'm going to be a billionaire or I'm going to make $1 million by the time I'm 27. I tried that. I was 23, read Think and Grow Rich. It was a secret in the book, mentioned no less than 100 times. You figure out the secret, you're swept on to success. So I was going to make $1 million by the time I was 25. And I went bankrupt. Why? Because I didn't change the self-image. Right? And I didn't even know anything about that. And so what you got to do is in order to change your self-image, you have to realize the current image you hold of yourself is not true. That's the mistaken identity. That's what my book does. It gets you to see what's not true about you so you can replace it with what is true about you. And then you create a self-image that's authentic, it's accurate, it's based on who you really are, and you don't really know who you are. So you got to get that clear. So you got to clear up your false, mistaken self-image. Okay. When you do that, you get to know who you are, and then you really know what you want to pursue and what you go after. And so then it's very easy to create a self-image that's in line with where you want to go because you know yourself now. And that's why working with me is so effective and so freeing, because you like yourself, you know yourself, you can be yourself, and then you can pursue the things that you want to pursue. And that's the magic. That's what you want to be doing. Okay. So if you want to break free and make changes, you got to change a few things. You got to pursue something by pursue your change by taking action. Let go of the past because it's holding you back. Just distance yourself from it. Okay. Just move away from it bit by bit. But the fastest way to distance yourself is to get rid of this past that's got a grip on you, that's roping you into keeping you stuck. Okay. Now, as you pursue what you want and let go of the past at the same time and clear up this mistaken identity from yourself, clear your mind, clear your heart, the grip that the past has, and it begins to loosen. The rope loosens. For some of you, it's very tight. You know, you're very unhealthy. You're very unhappy. Real emotional problems, right? You may have been diagnosed with all kinds of emotional mental health problems. Like there's a real constriction on you. The past has really wound you up and is wound around you pretty tight. And so it begins to loosen. And that's what I try to do with people when I first start working with them. I try to loosen the grip of the past on you so you can get a bit of wiggle room, a bit of freedom. And then when I'm talking to you, I can get you to see the truth about you and get you to pursue the very thing that you want to pursue, what it is that you want, the changes you want to make. And so that's it. That's our lesson for today. All right. Love to hear from you. If you're watching the replay, chime in. We're constantly pushing you to get into reset because you've got to reset this self-image. You've got to reset your identity. That's the fundamental issue that you're dealing with, regardless of what I used to say in the self-help world to people. There's three things you got to get straight. Your mind operates a certain way. It's goal-seeking. It's automatic. It's creative. You got a built-in GPS. It operates by certain rules, so it is a machine. You have to understand how it works, and you got to follow the rules. Okay. It's directed by your self-image, so you have to understand how self-image is driving your machine. And then thirdly, you got to get rid of this mistaken identity, this poor self-image, or this self-image that causes you doubt and fear and frustration and keeps you stuck. And so you got to reset. And so we'd love to talk to you about that. We have all kinds of ways to do it. You can do reset on your own. You can do reset with me one-on-one. We're getting really excited. We're about to launch our next group. So I also do this reset process where I'm with you every day like this in a Zoom, not just you watching me. We're in a room together with a group of people. And I take you through my book one chapter at a time, one day at a time, 5 days a week, 6 weeks in a row, plus another 6 weeks added on at the end to create a healthy, accurate self-image in line with what it is you want to pursue. And so we're about to launch Reset for a group, and that's starting in November, so you can get into that. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Let me go back to some of our questions here, and let me see if I can answer that. And if you have questions, I can stay on here for a little bit, and would be pleased to try to help you while you're here. So let me just read the question again. Can I elaborate on the question that you have when in your book you say you don't let your emotions control your thinking? What does it really mean? Because I love people, but I have a situation with my mechanic that I paid him, and he hasn't given me the truck for about 1 year. And now I feel like I want to sue him, but my emotions tell me to forgive him. In one way, I feel bad to do that. In another way, I want to sue him. What should I do? What is the truth? Can you let me know, please? Well, first up, here's the truth, okay? The truth will always set you free. The truth always feels good, okay? And the lie always feels bad. And so oftentimes you might get into what I call second guessing. You've heard that, second guessing. It's called second guessing for a reason. It's not called first guessing. So first guessing is, I should do this, or maybe I should do that. I should sue him, or maybe I shouldn't. I should forgive him, or maybe I should sue him. And so I would go with the first guess, okay? Whatever your heart tells you. Now, you also have to take a look, is it a lot of money? I think most people, if they do something wrong, I think they know they've done something wrong, but their own story, their own experience, their own situation in life causes them, like good people do bad things all the time, right? And I think most people generally feel bad about the bad things they do because they're good people. And so I would just look, is the person a good person? They're just making a mistake. It's probably costing them a lot more than it's costing you. But on the other hand, listen, it's business. And sometimes I think people do need to learn a lesson. So if it was me going to sue him, I wouldn't be suing him out of anger. or frustration or feeling like I got ripped off, I would sue him for empathy and kindness and sympathy to try to help him learn something. That's the way that I would do it. But this idea in my book about don't let your emotions control your thinking. There's two chapters of the book. One's called The Elephant in the Room, because your emotions are like an elephant and left untamed. You run amok, you trample all over the place, cause all kinds of damage and problems. And that same elephant can be tamed with a stick, and you, the rider of the elephant, can do good work. Okay? And the other chapter that follows that, is that really true? Because our emotions make up a bunch of assumptions and a bunch of drama, and we play all those scenes out in our mind. And of course, that creates negative emotions. And so you want to adopt two rules on operating your thinking. One is always be using emotional neutrality and intellectual objectivity. So if you're looking at the situation, be very neutral in your emotions. Now, I'm not saying people should not have feelings. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's absolutely no reason, no justification for you, any of you, or me, to react in a negative way to something. Okay. I might not like something. I might not agree with something. I might think it's wrong that people do something, but I don't really have to get really angry and emotional about it. I control my emotions. And I control my emotions by controlling my reaction. How do I control my reaction? I control my reaction with intellectual objectivity. I try to be rational and logical and objective and look at it from a third party's perspective, a neutral point of view. And so oftentimes, sometimes we need a neutral point of view or a second opinion. Well, I learned I didn't have to go to anybody for a second opinion. I could go within. I could go into my heart, into my spirit, the authenticity of who I really am, and I could ask for a second opinion. I could be objective. I could be emotionally neutral, and I could sit back and just kind of look at the situation and evaluate it rationally and logically. Now, we weren't taught to live that way. Okay, we were taught to live by our emotions, and it's not an effective way to operate your mind. In fact, your mind is this very rational, logical machine. Okay, it was proven in the early 50s. It's a machine. You're not a machine, but you have this machine that you operate, and that's how it operates. And I wasn't really doing very well. I was doing well in some areas, but I was doing poorly in others. And I clearly wasn't thinking, I wasn't operating the machine properly. So I just think you should adopt those two things. Okay. What else we got here? Hannah's here. Georgios is here. Amanda's here. Carmel. Hey, Carmel. Barbara. Shaz. Let's see. What else is there? I love my emotions. I don't get angry. I always come from love, but I always get betrayed. Is that really true? Do you always get betrayed? That's a pretty sweeping answer. Okay, I don't think you always get betrayed. If I ask you a bunch of questions, I would prove you don't always get betrayed. Now, I don't know you. I don't know your situation. We've never talked. But I would challenge you, if you're always getting betrayed, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a victim? Do you see yourself as a target? How do you see yourself? How do you view yourself? That's what I'd be looking at. And maybe that's why, maybe you're not always being betrayed, but maybe you feel betrayed because you have certain beliefs, certain expectations. You've been taught to operate a certain way. And maybe that's one of the reasons that you're experiencing this betrayal. That's a real problem for you. Definitely, I'd be pleased to talk to you about that. So, all right, I think that's it. I don't think anybody else has got any in here. Last chance, if you have a question or you want me to address anything, type it in here, and I will try to cover it for you. Donna, you're welcome. You resonate with everything that I shared today. I've been trying to change my self-image by affirmations, looking at my limiting and writing new beliefs. You can't do it that way, Donna. It doesn't work. Okay. Affirmations are a waste of time if you're lying to your subconscious. Okay. Now, the fact is, I was taught this, that your subconscious is amoral. It's wide open. It doesn't accept or it doesn't reject anything. It just accepts whatever you give it. But what I did not know, and I had to find out, is that deep in your subconscious, there will be opposing viewpoints. and they're way stronger than the affirmation coming from your logical mind as you write them and say them. What you got to do, and I believe in affirmations, but only once I've cleared out the things that aren't true, that are stronger than the very affirmation I want to be true. And that's what I put that, I cover that in the book as well, is you got to clear out the stuff that's not true, that's restricting you from affirming the very thing you want to be true. And a lot of people, they're affirming things that'll never be true about them because that's not who they are. So you don't try to change your self-image, okay? You don't work on your self-image. Okay, your self-image is constantly in change as you proceed and go through life. Have failures, have successes, pursue goals, try different careers. Your self-image is always changing. It's an evolutionary process, so it's nothing to fix. It's always in change. But what you want to do is that if you have a negative self-image, negative thoughts, feelings, and negative behaviors towards yourself against others because of how you feel about yourself, if you have that, okay, that's wrong. That's a mistake. You should never learn or been taught to feel the way you feel about yourself. It's causing you to do the things you do. Okay. You got to clear that up and realize that what happened to you, the way you were treated, the way you were raised, what people said and did to you, it wasn't about you. Okay. It just simply happened to you. You experienced it, these adverse childhood experiences. You experienced it. And so you think it's true. And you think that's who you are, and that's not true. And so you don't change your self-image, you don't fix it. You get rid of the false self-image, and then it's almost like it's automatic. A lot of people I work with, when they finally get rid of their mistaken identity and they meet their true self, they know themselves right away. One client said, I finally met my best friend, me, right? And their whole approach to life and their business and their goals totally different. Before, they were striving and straining and struggling and aspiring to do well and pursue goals, to be this goal achiever and da 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 da. And it wasn't really lining up with them. There was all this conflict. They thought there was something wrong with them because they were experiencing inner conflict. What was wrong with them, the inner conflict, was being created because they were pursuing things that wasn't in line with who they are. And that's the beauty, right? And so when you get rid of your mistaken identity, when you reset this image of you, and reset your opinion of yourself, you're clear, you're calmer, you're more confident, you have so much clarity to pursue what it is you want, because your view on you, the old you, the false you, what happened to you, it just comes into clarity, comes into view, and then you can let it go. And like I said, just pursue something and distance yourself from the past, and that's what we've got to do. If you don't do that, folks, listen, I could sell people a lot more stuff, a lot more programs, if I just kept making these aspirational, motivational, inspirational promises that you can be and do and have anything. But I spent 10 years in that space, and I found most people were never able to fulfill the promise that was offered to them or that they made to themselves or others because of this mistaken identity and this self-image problem, and maybe 60% of you that went through these adverse experiences. That's what we got to work on. And then, then you're free, and then life really gets better. So, hello, Pamela. How are you? Pamela lives down the hall from me where I live, but I'm in New York right now. I divide my time between New York and Canada, but I'll wave from you way down the hall in New York, Pamela. Here's another question. What can I do to help make my actions towards living my true self, true image consistent? Well, first off, you better have an accurate image of yourself. That's number one. And basically, it's really simple. In fact, when I work with people, generally, they're in this personal development space and they want to achieve goals and pursue goals and all that. I go, let's just time out on that for a second. In fact, most people I work with, I won't even work with you on your goals until we clear up your mistaken identity. Now, I'll work with you on your goals while you're clearing up your mistaken identity. But when I'm mentoring and coaching people, I don't like to fail. I want to see you succeed. And if your self-image, your mistaken identity is in my way and your way, we got to get rid of that first. Okay, so let's presume that you've done that. All right, and you're sitting here watching me right now, and you're clear, you're calm, you're confident, you're relaxed, you don't really react with any real negative emotions. You're operating in a pretty equable, serene way. Let's presume that. Okay. Then what you do is you brainstorm, not plan, brainstorm. Just think of all the things that you want, all right? All your wants. And then um, that's kind of, uh, those wants list kind of is you living towards the true image you want to have for yourself. So whatever that looks like, right? I want to be traveling. I want to have time to just sit down and paint and create whatever it is you want, right? That you want your life to look like. You look at the wants, and that's kind of the picture that you have of what you want your life to look like, the image, the true image of you and your life, you in that life. And then what you got to do is you got to, okay, all right, what is a target, a goal? What's something I could accomplish that would move me towards that? And so goals actually come second. First thing that's got to come first is a vision of what you want. And you've got to have your raison d'etre. There's got to be some meaning, some strong desire as to why you want that. You got to get connected to that. And then achieving goals is easy. You just set targets and you go about it. And once you set the goal, then you got to brainstorm some ideas on how to get there, come up with an action list, put that action list in some sequential semblance of order, and just take one action at a time, one at a time, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, and away you go. Now, that's probably a longer answer, but I wanted to give you as much as I could. All right, listen, it's noon. We better wrap up. It's been an hour. We like to kind of finish at the top of the hour, no more. But certainly you can reach out in the Facebook group. I'd love to see you in reset. I'd love to help you reset your self-image, your life, your career. So if you want to do that, do that. If you want to work with me, reach out. You can go to my website, dougdane.com, and it's all there. But if you're not ready for that, that's fine. Just keep coming back here and I'll just keep helping you. And I want to thank you for being our Made for More community. Invite some people in if you want and have them check it out. Share the replay if you like, and we'll